More and more Indigenous people are still dying at the hands of law enforcement.
Tonight, a Nunavut NDP MP speaks out about the twins that were shot by police in Saluit.
She didn't deserve this treatment, and we deserve justice for her and answers.
A vigil was held for a mother of 4 who died after an incident behind a Winnipeg mall.
There will be, I'm sure, a different approach when it comes to tribal nations in the United States of America.
And we get reaction on Donald Trump being elected as the 47th President of the United States. Good evening, I'm Christian Achkate. Welcome to APTN National News. In the early morning hours of Monday, a Nunavut police officer shot and killed a man in Saluit, Nunavut, an Inuit community in northern Quebec. His brother was also shot and was last heard to be in critical condition after being medevaced to a hospital. The incident continues the trend of Indigenous people being killed at the hands of law enforcement in Canada. In question period on Wednesday, Nunavut NDP MP Lori Idlaut questioned Prime Minister Trudeau about the incident.
More and more Indigenous people are still dying at the hands of law enforcement. Despite urgent calls to save lives, the Liberals have done nothing. I grieve with the Inuit family in Saluit, Nunavut after their son Joshua was killed. We need justice for twins Joshua and Garnet Papigatuk. We need more de-escalation tactics and Indigenous-led crisis response teams. When will this government listen to the urgent demands from Indigenous peoples so they can live in safe communities?
Yeah. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Kuyanamik, for my colleague's question. We know how difficult situations there are in far too many Indigenous communities, including Inuit communities across Nunavut, which is why we've tripled investments into Indigenous communities since 2015, with $32 billion in investments expected in 2024-2025 alone. We know there is much more to do, including even stronger partnerships on Indigenous policing, on community security, community safety, on housing, on supports for young people. There is much more to do. We will continue to work hand in hand, work with local governments and Indigenous governments to get it done.
A candlelight vigil was held in Winnipeg on Tuesday night by the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs. The vigil was in honor of Brianna Close, a mother of 4 who was found behind Portage Place Mall in downtown Winnipeg on October 31st. Family members and friends gathered near where Close was found last week with life-threatening injuries, of which she later died in hospital. She was only 28 years old. Police believe her death was a homicide and have charged 32-year-old Ryan John Kennedy with second-degree murder. Close leaves behind a daughter and 3 sons, the eldest only 11 years old. His parental aunt, Cassandra Flett, says it's not fair for Close's children who now have to grow up without their mom at such young ages.
I cry for her. She was a beautiful person. She didn't deserve this treatment, and we deserve justice for her and answers. And we just need time to heal, I guess, at the end of the day, and hope that we can carry on her memory, especially in her children, and stories of how bright and kind she was. She was such a generous person.
The Saddle Lake Cree Nation in Alberta held an opening of their new Reunification Village on Monday. It will reunite parents with their children taken into care by the province. APTN's Chris Stewart was there.
Leaders, workers, contractors, and Saddle Lake members were on hand Monday to celebrate the official opening of 6 brand new homes that have been built to reunite parents and children. Parents who have completed addiction recovery at the Eagle Healing Lodge, located right next door, and have remained sober can be eligible to live with their family in one of the 6 units for up to 18 months. They can then be moved into transitional housing. Saddle Lake Cree Nation Councillor Pauline Hunter told those gathered that having their community raise children instead of the province is the best way forward.
The disconnect that's happening between our families, we had to work to keep the family together and wrap supports around them, and this is what this place is all about. And we're going to do that, and we're going to see the result.
The Wet'suwet'en Society, which means kinship or everyone is related in Cree, has spent years planning and getting it ready. Tony Rose George is the project lead. She says there will be plenty of supports available from trained social workers, including childcare and cultural teachings. Having everything on site was important.
We often have to contract services off reserve. So the beauty of the program is that we have a program like this on our nation now, and we're excited that we don't have to utilize, we have our own, we don't have to go off reserve, we don't have to displace our families and our children.
Cheryl Cardinal is the chair of the Wet'suwet'en Society. She says bringing back Cree culture to youth who have not been taught it when they are in provincial care was critical.
We need to learn that we are from the land, what being Cree means, and that's a big component to healthy living for us, is learning our ways that help us to address the traumas that have happened.
She says the community will come together to help families prosper.
This is something that we needed to be able to assist our families. We all know our families. We're very, it's Wet'suwet'en. Wet'suwet'en is all my family, all my relations, and that's what we are here. And we need to help each other.
The first families are expected to be reunited in January. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Saddle Lake, Cree Nation, Alberta.
Congratulations, Saddle Lake. For years, the Yukon has been grappling with a devastating addictions crisis and opioid epidemic. Just recently, a person struggling with addiction died at a supportive housing residence. As Sarah Connors tells us, a community gathering was held to raise awareness about addictions-related deaths that occurred at the building.
On Friday, around 24 people gathered at the Housing First building in downtown Whitehorse. The people here say they're grieving. These are the many faces of those lost to the territory's addictions crisis. Organizer and recovering addict Terry Lynn Shinkle says it's important they're not forgotten.
I want to bring awareness to how many people we lost in Housing First to addiction.
The Housing First building is operated by nonprofit Connective in partnership with the Council of Yukon First Nations. The government-funded program provides housing to vulnerable people who may require substance use or mental health supports. Yukon Coroner Services it's investigating a death that occurred at the building late last month. The people here say that person was Lacey Scarf.
Our beautiful Lacey Scarf. I was lucky to be one of her best friends.
According to the Yukon government, 6 people have died at the Housing First building. Shinkle says her son's father was one of them.
I definitely want to see the change happen here because of all the deaths that happened here. I think they need more support.
Recovering addict Alex McKenna says too many people are falling through the cracks.
Our loved ones are dying at mass rates, and the agencies created to help are only Band-Aids. They are not working, or we wouldn't be where we are.
APTN News reached out to Connective, which declined to comment. Shinkle says people struggling with addiction matter. That's why she wants to see everyone work together so no more lives are lost.
I want our stories to be told by the families who lost a loved one to the opioid epidemic, because we are losing an entire generation and it needs to stop.
Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
With Donald Trump elected as the United States' 47th president, APTN News got reaction today. That story after the break in about 3 minutes. Stay with us. Welcome back. With last night's United States election going in favor of Donald Trump, Canadians are wondering what the future holds for our side of the border. Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew, the first provincial premier of First Nations descent, gave us his thoughts on the election results. Kinew says that the United States is Manitoba's most important trading partner, and his government will work with the incoming Trump administration to ensure a good economy for Manitoba, a province rich in critical minerals which Americans are, quote, hungry for.
And our province has what America needs. We are the Costco of critical minerals in this province. We have active mining operations today. We have the ability to work with Indigenous communities and the private sector to bring new developments online with higher environmental standards and higher respect for labor and human rights standards than pretty much anywhere else in the world. And so we're going to be working hard to ensure that the important trade relationship is respected, and of course every step of the way we honor our Canadian values.
For more on the U.S. election results and how Indigenous candidates fared, we're joined by Jordan Bennett-Begay. She is the executive editor of ICT, formerly known as Indian Country Today. She joins us from Ontario, California. Jordan, thank you so much for chatting with us. All the talk leading up to the election was about how we wouldn't know the outcome for days. Were the results last night a bit of a shock to you?
I think for a lot of Native people, it was a shock. I mean, you saw even just like in American and national media that it was going to take days, maybe in like the week after. But I mean, our editor at large, or our managing innovator and founding editor, Mark Trahant, he was the one who even said, "Oh, it's going to be early," and he's been in the game 50 years, so he knew way more. So I was kind of on the fence, but I think a lot of our community members are really shocked.
Jordan, can you talk about what kind of support does President-elect Trump have in Indian country?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of this, I came into, this role or as a reporter in the middle of his administration in 2018, and even just looking then and now in his campaign this time around, he really used Senator Mark Mullen as a surrogate. So Mark Mullen gave an op-ed, an exclusive op-ed to us and talked about all the ways that he has supported Indian country. He, gave federal recognition to 9 tribes in Virginia. He increased the IHS budget, the Indian Health Service budget. But I know a lot of online and anecdotally we're hearing from tribal leaders that, it's tribal sovereignty overall, and tribal sovereignty works both sides of the aisle.
The Republicans also took control of the Senate and could even take the House. What do you think tribal nations can expect over the next 4 years?
Oh, wow. It's a really great question. I think we've been here before. And like I said, tribal sovereignty, we work on both sides of the aisle. We have Tom Cole, who was reelected. He's the longest serving congressional member. He's a Native candidate, and he was currently the chair of Appropriations Committee. So, we have, a lot of Native people in these seats, again, like Mark Mullen. So I know a lot of tribal leaders say it's going to be a really scary time, but they're willing to work through it.
And finally, Jordan, Sharice Davids won a re-election to the U.S. House representing Kansas, but there were 178 Native American candidates running across the country. I want to ask you, is that a record, and were there others elected?
Yes, that was definitely a record. 178 candidates in this general election. So Native voters saw 178 on the November ballot. Overall, in the 2024 election, you did see 250 Indigenous candidates, which was a record. And, and that could be for a couple reasons, that more people are running for office, but also our method with advanced Native political leaderships in trying to find Native candidates is improving over the years. But yeah, Sharice Davids won, Tom Cole won for Congress, Josh Burkeen in Oklahoma also won. We're waiting on Jonathan Nez and his race against Eli Crane in Arizona. And there were some issues that we were watching last night when a lot of machines were malfunctioning. There's a lack of printed ballots. So we're waiting to see if those affected his numbers at all.
Well, Jordan, we'll have to leave it there. We thank you so much for chatting with us today.
Okay, thank you so much again.
At the Manitoba Legislature, people continue to pay their respects to the late Judge, Senator, and Truth and Reconciliation Commissioner Murray Sinclair, including survivors and those in the law field. With more, here's T.R. Wheatley.
Traditional songs and people coming and going from this teepee mid-yard. A 4-day sacred fire burning inside until midday Thursday for the late Justice Murray Sinclair. Amongst those paying respect, residential school survivor Grandma Geraldine Shingus.
And he said, I see you, I hear you, and I believe you.
She brought along 215 orange tobacco ties like this one to honor Sinclair and the 215 children from Kamloops, British Columbia.
He carried all that pain, like, our pain, and now it's our turn to carry him.
Inside the ledge, a book of condolences. It will stay here until after his public memorial on Sunday. Leah Kozakowski and Alicia Schachtner are from the Law Society of Manitoba and are amongst the thousands of people who've so far signed and left messages for Sinclair's family. Kozakowski said Sinclair helped them start an Indigenous advisory committee.
Can you imagine all of the different organizations that asked for his time? We know we were just one of many.
Sinclair chaired the committee the past 4 years, including developing a mandatory education program that every lawyer in the province needs to take before they can practice law here. Schachter remembers when she asked for Sinclair's help. He agreed, saying it couldn't be just lip service.
And he really helped us learn to walk the path of reconciliation and to understand how to do so in a good way, consistent with Indigenous values, and just helped us navigate what can be difficult.
While his loss continues to be felt across this country, these two from the Law Society remain committed to carrying on the 94 calls to action Sinclair penned, answering the call to educate more Indigenous people within the justice system. T.R. Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Business has been good for one Indigenous family in Winnipeg. We'll introduce you to NII Moves when we come back in less than 3 minutes. Stay with us. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. A stunning orange sunrise in Ross River, Yukon, captured by Fran Etzel. Great shot, Fran, and thank you so much for sharing. If you have a picture you want to be featured, please email it to share@aptn.ca to have your photo on APTN National News. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the east, Halifax 14, Charlottetown 8. Inujuak 1, Nain 3. Quebec City 7, Saint Jovite 7 as well. London 13, Sarnia 13. Wawa 7, Thunder Bay 9. 1 in Churchill, Thompson 4. 10 in Gimli, Dauphin 12. 10 in Regina, Saskatoon 13. Meadow Lake plus 12 with sun, Stony Rapids 6. Plus 12 and rain in Grand Prairie, Peace River 9. Edmonton 13, Calgary 14. 12 in Vancouver, Campbell River 11. 2 in Fort Nelson, Prince Rupert 8. Beaver Creek minus 13, Mayo minus 8. Fort Simpson minus 4, Wrigley minus 8. Minus 4 in Pawlatuck, Sax Harbor minus 19. Minus 14 in Baker Lake, Whale Cove minus 2. And Iqaluit minus 6, Aglulik minus 8. A Yukon artist recently created a thought-provoking piece showcasing the marine casualties of the Eagle Gold Mine disaster last summer. Lara Bode is a member of the Little Salmon Carmacks First Nation and a third-year student at the Emily Carr University of Art and Design in Vancouver. As part of an assignment, she illustrated the 68 dead fish that were discovered in a creek near Victoria Gold's Eagle Mine site near Mayo, Yukon. The fish died as a result of a discharge of cyanide-contaminated water. Earlier this summer, an equipment failure caused a landslide at the mine site, spilling millions of tons of cyanide-laced rock into the environment. The assignment took Bode about 3 weeks to complete.
Like, it's kind of taking away the separation of just hearing a number and actually seeing it. And then also, obviously the amount of labor I put into this is a huge part of what it is. So I think it's just like really forcing a viewer to confront realities of like mining accidents,
And finally tonight, NII Moves is a First Nation moving company that is gaining traction in Winnipeg. 2 brothers and a cousin raised in the North End hit the road earlier this year and haven't looked back. Here's a look at some of the moves from the perspective of the Bolio brothers.
Okay, I'm gonna readjust my grip. I'd say I started it in like January 2024. We were doing like side jobs at first. My name is Jordan Bolio, and I'm a mover. I started a company called NII Moves. Yeah, I'm 21 years old. Work with my brothers, yeah, and help people in need, because I mean, especially in the community, there's lots of Indigenous people moving around, right? And I mean, not everybody can afford $1,000, so we're out here trying to make the difference. 2 guys is $135, 3 guys is $175. It's really from nothing, right? We just started using U-Hauls and then worked our way up to a small truck and then now our big truck, so we're doing pretty decent for ourselves.
Yeah, with this it makes it a lot more efficient. I'm Quentin Bolio and I'm a mover for NII Moves, part owner of NII Moves. I'm 20, I'm 1 year younger. The 3 of us started at the beginning of this year and we're going pretty strong right now. Start on your goals, get a good group of people around you, have good support, and yeah, just starting is the biggest thing.
My name is Melody Dupuis, and I'm moving from this location to another location with NII Movers. I've used them before, and they were recommended to me, and they're awesome. They're super nice, take care of all your stuff, always on time. Told Jordan before that I'm proud of him and his workers for starting their own company. Like, that's amazing, especially the barriers that Indigenous people face. And so for him to come out of all of that and have his own business, that's just amazing to me. And so I like to support him and refer him to everyone. You gotta start somewhere, right? You don't just have it all handed to you. So I just thought, we'll start it and just see what happens. I mean, we got a pretty good Facebook presence too. My partner Vince, actually, he was the one who thought orange, put a bunch of hands on it. We're NII Moves, and I mean, coming with like Orange Shirt Day and all that stuff. Definitely got to branch out more, because I want to start helping out reserves too over time. That's something that's a big ambition of mine.
That can be some tough work there, NII Moves, right on. And we want to thank TR Wheatley for putting that story together and going along with Jordan and Quentin from NII Moves. And that's your evening newscast for this Wednesday, November 6th. We'll be back again with more stories for your midday newscasts on Thursday. From our HQ in Winnipeg and from our reporting staff from across the country, hi, miigwech, masicho. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next day.